A camera marker.
My name's Cody La Pertche. I'm 33 years old. I grew up here in Jamestown, California, and I just started my own company called New World Wine Company. We'll be doing stuff from the Gianelli Vineyard, Hurst Ranch, a few other places that I work with. I was trained by Chuck Hovey, who is kind of a legendary winemaker in our area, and the Hovey label still exists over in Murphy's. And I'm hoping to work with not only provide wines that I make, but also work with a few places in Murphy's, including Hovey, just to kind of tell that story of how we got here. Him and Ron Gianelli built Gianelli Vineyards and designed the winery, kind of figured out like all of the different types of varietals. We're about 90% Italian, but we do have some French and Spanish stuff as well. So Chuck Hovey and Ron Gianelli met each other probably in like 2006-ish or so. Ron Gianelli was planting the vineyard at the time, and Ron was kind of a eccentric guy, and he was very kind of stubborn Italian, and he was going to do that no matter what. And so he found out through soil testing that our soil mirrors Tuscan soil by about 98%. And it's just perfectly suited for most of the Spanish and Italian varietals that we're growing. A lot of people 30 years ago tried to plant familiar varietals like Chardonnay, Cabernet, Pinot Noir, but found that there's not a lot of moisture in the air. It can be pretty hot. The soil's great. So you just have to find varietals that are suited for that heat. They usually have bigger leaf exposure, so it kind of shades the grapes a little better, things like that. And so Ron was very lucky to find that, and worked really hard to establish the vineyard. And then that was just one piece of the puzzle. And then when he met Chuck Hovey, Chuck had just left Steveno Winery and made quite a big name for himself over across the river in Calaveras County. And by the time he got to us, him and Ron kind of put the finishing touches on the facility, kind of made some little final decisions in the vineyard, and that was just kind of gave us a great head start. How's it going? I started with Gianelli Vineyards in 2012, and then when Chuck Hovey got sick, I took over for him in 2015, and so I've just been the solo winemaker for 10 years, but I've been doing it for about 14, apprenticing under Hovey and producing for his label, Gianelli, and Hurst Ranch at the time, and then Steveno for a while, and Inner Sanctum, and then eventually kind of branched out into our own direction. This is the La Folia line that we have. These are 3 whites from Ryan Teeter in Murphy's, and this is his company. And so he has a side label now called El Paso, which is really neat. He does a lot of really interesting Italian and Spanish varietals, and plenty of French as well. But we have a Pinot Grigio, very crisp. From the El Paso label, he's got the Queen. These are all based off of like tarot cards, and it's a blend. And then we've got the Masquerade, which is a little on the fruity side. So he's a really, dynamic winemaker. These are the Hurst Ranch wines that I've made. With Leslie Hurst grew the grapes. The Hurst family's been a huge pillar in the community, and so to have them here has been really cool, and to be able to showcase the wines that we made from their place has been great. And we kind of split the tasting into by company. So if you'd like to taste the La Folia list, the Hurst list, the New World list, and if you'd like to do like a varied selection, we can do a flight with that as well. All that experience led to the New World label, which is my personal label. And so far, we've got about 3,000 gallons in the winery with about 5 different varietals that we need to bottle. But right now, we're featuring a blend called Dionic and a white Grenache, which we put a lot into. And the neat thing about New World Wine Co. is it's an opportunity to showcase each individual vineyard that we work with, and to kind of do different things. So this is a highly engineered blend that has 6 different wines in it. This is a white Grenache, which is a red grape that we kind of treated like a white wine and ran through some carbon filtration. There are certain wines I think that I can say that I didn't have much to do with, especially a really good red grape. You kind of just squish it and get it in the barrel, and it'll do that. But when you're making like white Grenaches and blends, you really are kind of over them every step of the way. And I find that like the more work you spend on them, the more you come to love them, because they kind of take up so much of your time and effort. And by the time you get it packaged and in a bottle, it could be kind of surreal sometimes to hold it and just say, hey, we did it, we're here. Gianelli is kind of set up to where it's like no job too big. Like we can make 5 gallons and I can do 14 tons a day. Like it's just depends on what people are doing.
He does a good job definitely with the winemaking.
He does.
And he never filled it, so
I got hooked up with him.
One thing I'm really proud of is we're working with two different Jamestown artists. One of them is Leslie Hurst. She's got most of the art on the wall, but she's going to be rotating these exhibits over. She's going to be painting some scenes from Ireland and then later France. And so this will, right now we have mostly local scenes, but this will kind of rotate as the year goes on. And all the art's for sale if anybody would ever, want to come in and just kind of take a look at the art. And then we have Patrick Karnahan over here, also from Jamestown, who does more of the realistic paintings. And it's really neat because especially with Patrick's stuff and Leslie's stuff, they do a lot of local scenes. And then obviously we have Railtown right up the way, so and I'm a big fan of trains and things, so like this just kind of like fits really well with what we're doing and kind of like telling people about Jamestown, especially when you get some tourists and people that are out of town just kind of checking things out. Yeah, so one of the things I'm really excited about is we're working with a couple different olive oil companies, and then this is ours that we grow out at Gianelli Vineyard, that it's under the New World Wine Co. label, but then this is also Murphy Family Ranch, and we're hoping to work with a couple other local producers. Seems like everybody up here has either a vineyard or an olive grove, and we're trying to get a little busier with the food items that we have. So we're moving into kind of also becoming like a tapas bar, working with a couple different chefs that are going to be putting together a menu for us to have small plates for people, just enough to kind of like give you something and hang out with and kind of showcase the area a little bit. One of the companies I'm working with is called Sweetwater Farms out of Colombia, and they're a really neat kind of like a pork farm, and they do fouette Spanish style salami that we're featuring, Oakdale Cheese Factory, so like semi-local and just really high quality stuff, and try to keep the price point down for everybody and just give you like a small sampling plate to kind of pair with the wines or just hang out with a beer outside.
Yeah. Her house was full of plants and shit.
Yeah, that was Virginia. She was cool. We're actually planning a bunch of events for this month and next month, June and July. So I'm kind of excited about that. Things are kind of starting to fill up a little bit. So we do have some live music coming in, and we're hoping to establish kind of like a monthly concert series with the Black Irish Band and a couple other little local bands that I'm talking to that I'm really excited about. And so just trying to nail down some dates with them. But keep an eye out. We will be posting on our social medias and probably our website as well. Gianelli is kind of set up to where it's like no job too big. Like we can make 5 gallons and I can do 14 tons a day. Like it's just depends on what people are doing.
You need to take some white home for Mom.
I can do that. You want to mix it? You want to mix it?
I got that.
Yeah, sure. It's like,
That's awesome. That's good advice.
it's
Solid.
true. It's good. You know, you do whatever you want. It's even the stuff that you have, you can still go into approval if you want to. You know. More than welcome to, but I can't guarantee you shit.
She was working on his face.
Oh, really? She told me that. This is really neat, but it's got. This is our building here. It was called Eagle Clothing back in, I believe this is 1896, it says. There was a 4th of July parade. You can kind of see a different shot of the awning. And then in this picture is, I believe, 1928, and it was a tailoring shop. And so you can see kind of the same windows, actually, those square windows, and that's when they took the awning off. So I love these old pictures. Yeah, so I think one of the things that I've been really thankful for, not only working at a place like Gianelli, it's a very advantageous property. You've got the grapes and the bottling line, so you do you're forced to know a little bit about everything. A lot of winemakers will have a general understanding about grapes. They're just kind of relying on the vineyard managers to give them good, what we call Brix levels, which are the sugar content, or the pH and TA, which are the indications on the acidity. They do the best they can in the winemaking process. And typically a lot of people will fancy themselves winemakers because they're kind of tinkering around in the lab a lot. And one thing I've noticed, especially with Chuck Hovey's style and being an estate winemaker, is that we're not really messing around too much in the cellar. In the lab, because we're kind of getting those numbers out of the vineyard where we want them. So we grow the grapes and we manipulate those numbers to achieve like pretty much close to the perfect balance between the Brix and the acidity. And so we're out in the vineyard, testing pH, testing Brix, and then also how does it taste. Sometimes the numbers can be perfect, but it's not quite ready yet. I'm sending you home with a little bit of a grab bag. So we've got a wine that I've made, and then also a wine that is from La Folia. So kind of like the best of both worlds. So we're just trying to kind of showcase each individual vineyard. And so what's really nice about this is you've got something that I personally grew and made, and then you've got something that a friend of mine grew and made. Both of them I'm very happy with. There's two different options in there, and I think that if people who do visit, hopefully that will translate pretty well as far as like the curated experience that we're trying to do. And you know, we only pour things that we have a personal relationship with and that we personally enjoy, and I hope that that translates to everybody else as well. So far, how's it going?
Came to say hi.
About damn time.